All right, thank you. That's beautiful. Good evening, everybody.
Good
evening.
So before I start my talk, I just wanted to kind of relay a story. One time I was at my mentor's home in the Virginia Hills, a beautiful house overlooking the hills and everything, and I was so proud because all these years she'd been teaching me stuff, and I'm going to be able to give her some information that I know. I went to her, I go, Deborah, I just learned a great new manifesting method, and it's so powerful. It really works, and it's really cool. And I thought, I'm going to be able to show her, and she comes back to me, and what do you think? She totally burst my bubble. She goes, Steve, why would you want to do that? She goes, do you think you know better than Spirit what you need in your life? She said, the best thing you can do is take that effort that you spend working on manifesting and spend that time working on yourself. And she said, and then Spirit will bring you far greater things. And she went like this, and she goes, look at this view. There's rolling hills, mist, cows mooing in the background. She goes, I didn't even ask for this. Somebody came to me and said, hey, we got a house for dirt cheap in the hills of Virginia for you. So to me, that was really a very powerful moment, that we're always so busy. Oh, we got to manifest this. We got to create our lives. We got to do this. We've got to change things outside of our world when actually it's all about right in here. So I just thought I'd share that story as kind of a foundation, for the talk. So, when we think about it, a cluttered mind blocks the pathway to our prosperity. And by prosperity, I don't necessarily mean money. It could be relationship, happiness, joy, whatever it means for you. A still mind allows Spirit to bring prosperity beyond our wildest dreams. How many have ever just, allowed Spirit to take over, and then something comes that you could better than you could ever have imagined, versus saying, I want this green car, And so what we're going to do today is we're going to explore some ways to experience heaven on earth through identifying and healing our poverty consciousness. So this we'll talk about. So first, let's do a little background. As we grow, in life, like I always used to say, you spend the first 21 years of your life getting screwed up and the rest of your life trying to figure it out, But really, as we grow, in this world, the Western world doesn't really teach us how to go inside and how to deal with our emotions. How many heard, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about, or, kids are supposed to be seen and not heard, right? And so all these things teach us to suppress our emotions. And so as these events, these traumas happen to us as we're growing up, which they all do, all these energies get suppressed, and they kind of form a block in our energetic field, but this is all below our consciousness, so we don't really see it. So now Spirit, of course, is there to say, hey, you should be in heaven. You should all be loving each other and saving the world and sharing everything that you have, but it's not really working that way. So Spirit is trying to teach us that. So what does Spirit do? Spirit says, well, you have this trauma built up underneath, and so I'm going to bring situations to you to help you to see that trauma. But again, society says, oh, you can't see that trauma. You can't speak that. That's taboo. The church says you shouldn't be like that, so you better not express that in any way. So these things keep on coming to us again and again and again. So what happens after a while? We start to externalize these feelings, and they happen so much that we start to call them our story. Have you ever heard anybody say, that's the story of my life? You ever say that's the story of my life? Things just keep on happening. And really what it is this is Spirit trying to open you up to say, hey, there's something here. And it's doing it through external means, which are really a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So it's Spirit saying, there's something wrong inside of you. I'm showing you, and you're not getting it. Hello, And, as always, Spirit will do the gentle tap on the shoulder, and then a little shake a little harder, and before you know it, boom, you're hit upside the head with a 2x4, which is usually a major life crisis. And then quite often people deal with it and they can grow through things. But why do we have to wait for the 2x4? I mean, anybody like getting hit in the head with the 2x4 around here? Yeah. How many people have been hit in the head with the 2x4? Yeah, so it's something that, it's something that that happens to all of us, and there's really, we just don't know, because we're not really trained to go inside and, first of all, to identify this and then release it. Like, for example, when I was a kid, there was 5 kids in the family, and we're all fighting for mom and dad's attention, and I was the 4th of 5. So, by the time my guy came around, the parents were pretty tired of raising kids, especially after my brother. He was quite the energetic young boy, and and of course I could do no wrong, because after what he did, no matter what I did, it wasn't as bad. So, but I was always jealous of him because he had all the fun. I was always trying to be the good kid. But what I learned, though, as I was growing up, I learned, well, if how do I get mommy and daddy's attention? You try all these different things, and I learned that, if I accomplish things, they go, oh, you're a good boy, you've accomplished something, or you've got an A in school, you did good. So what happens, as a child, I learned that to get love and attention, you have to do things, you have to learn things, you have to be smarter than the next person, right? I'm smarter, or I'm greater than, and then, oh, there's a good boy, and you're like, oh, I'm getting that attention. But that's great for when you're a kid with mommy, but you get into the real world and the rules are a little different. Here you are trying to attract attention, and there's people over there going, man, he's a smartass, listen to this guy, what's going on with him? So, these things are, again, it's spirit saying that there's something inside of you that needs to be healed. So, it becomes a life story. So, what are some other life stories that we become? The good mother, right? How many have ever known someone, or yourself, that, felt the empty nest syndrome? You've raised kids all your life, and then suddenly they're gone, and you're like, wow, what do I do now? I have no identity anymore, because my identity was totally wrapped up in being a mother, and now nothing. Or the person who works their whole life and they're dedicated to their work, and then they suddenly retire. Now they don't have that job, that responsibility, 100 people reporting to them. They go into a crisis because their story was, I'm the boss, and maybe I'm a good boss, or maybe I'm a bad boss, but he's a boss either way, or I get things done, whatever it means. And so we all have these stories that we write about ourselves. And these stories are what I was talking about when you have this reoccurring stress that's built up below the surface, and you don't know what it is, but it's waking you up in the middle of the night. It's making you sick. It's causing problems, aches and pains, problems. Maybe you just can't get a relationship to go for more than a couple months or something. And it always ends. So these are all things that are coming from underneath. So, another example in my own life that I learned that happened to me was as I grew, my parents were kind of poor, trying to raise 5 kids and everything, and my father had his own business, so it was either feast or famine. And so, but then as I got older, I found that no matter how much money I made, there was always another catastrophe to take that money away. Another kid gets born, somebody goes to the emergency room, the house needs a new roof, there's a recession, you just, half your money gets wiped out. So what do? You're like, I didn't cause the recession. I didn't cause the roof to go bad. I didn't cause my job to be lost. I didn't cause my company to relocate to another state and leave me behind. They're the bully, the house, it's nature. I'm a victim of what's going on. That's my story. So no matter how much I tried to save money, something would happen. So how do you break the cycle? So in my case, I really, really focused on it, and I studied on it, And I realized that my father always used to say, oh, you have to work 80 hours a week just to scrape up and live and survive. So that was my mentality, and I literally worked 80 hours a week, for years, and I burned out a bunch of times too, and I never was able to get ahead with money. Every time I got some money saved up, something would come up. Oh, here comes a divorce, there goes, there goes all your money. And then college, for the kids. And so, but once I was able to learn and be aware of that, what this was programming that was programmed into my head, and being raised poor, I remember I would do magic shows in the garage for a dime so that I could get some money so I could buy some candy, or started mowing lawns when I was, 11 so I could have some money to do things, and, I got a job when I was like 14 because there was so much good music coming out in the 70s, every week, Aerosmith, Kansas, every week there was another band coming out with a great album, so I wanted to buy all this music, so I had to get a job, But anyway, so what this really was all these catastrophes are spirits telling me, I want you to be in heaven on earth, and I'm showing you where you have some subconscious blocks that need to be healed. So one of the things, Wayne Dyer said, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. So basically what that's saying is change your perspective of the world. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. So what is that really saying? That's really saying raise your consciousness, become more aware of the things that are going on around you. Look at things from a different point of view. But how do you do that, right? We see these things in our lives. We see these things reflecting back to us. I saw that every time I finally got some money saved up. Oh, you need a new roof, there's $8,000, or your house needs to be sided, there's $15,000. And I saw these things happening, but how do you know where to look to get to them? Because it's so subconscious in our minds that it's really hard to see. So one of the things that I'd like to share with you today, first of all, as you know, the title of the talk is the Triangle of Empowerment, but first we're going to look at the Triangle of Disempowerment. And I hope everybody can see that. So I'll draw this up real fast, and nope, not good. Okay, so first off on the Triangle of Disempowerment, we have the victim. And we have the bully. And then we have the savior over here. Okay, so let's take a look at these different things. So basically, if you find yourself playing one of these three roles in life, you are on the triangle of disempowerment, or you are stepping away from your power. There's something for you to learn. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about it. The victim. The victim is one who sees the world as a hostile place. They always have to be on guard. They make up very convincing stories to justify the hostility of the world around them. In my case, I didn't make my company move to another city. It's not my fault. It's the world doing it to me, right? I'm the victim, right? I didn't cause all this. My boss is the bully. These things were done to me. Thus, my story as the victim. And then the victim is going to seek out a savior to save them, right? They're going to go. Maybe they're going to go to a psychic. They're going to go for a reading, and they're going to hang on every word, I knew someone who went to a psychic, and the psychic said, they hadn't dated in a while, and the psychic said, oh, you were going to meet and fall in love with a European man, tall, dark European man. So then anytime she met a person with a European accent, she's like all over, oh, it's my hero. And some of these guys turned out to, I'm just looking at them, man, that guy's that guy's a loser. Get away from him. So, when you're in that spot, these things are very real, though. And you look at this stuff, and, somebody says something to you, and you're like, oh, that must be it. Because what are you doing? You're looking outside of yourself for an answer that you can't be found outside of yourself. The answer's inside of yourself. So then let's go to the bully. The bully is somebody, maybe they found out young in life that force is the way to get things done. How many know bullies, right? How many maybe you've seen a little bully in yourself? You're like, well, I'm not getting anything done, so I'm going to have to use a little force here. They feel that they have to fight at others, but in a way, they're only doing it so others don't get the best of them. So really the bully, in a way, is a victim too. Because they're the victim, they're being a bully so that people don't make them the victim. Right? And so see how it goes around. Then the savior now, you're probably going, what's the savior? The savior a good thing? You're here to help the world and everything. Well, yes, it is. But to the savior, their duty is to help the world at any cost, and usually that cost is their own. So an example of a savior might be a nurse that can never stop taking care of people. Anybody ever know of that situation where you're a nurse and you come home and you're taking care of people, and if you're not taking care of people, you're not happy? So, but that in itself is not bad. That's good. That's good to do. But what defines the savior in this case is the person, is why they're doing it. Maybe you're feeling guilty. Maybe there's something going on. Why does the nurse have to help the people out? So, and I think a way of checking this out is, if you're helping others and it drains you, then you're being the savior. If you're helping others and it charges you and replenishes you and nourishes you, so that when you're done helping someone, you're like, wow, I may be physically tired, but I feel emotionally stronger. I feel really good. See the difference between the two? Like, an example that I can relate in a story in my life where I played the savior was a friend of mine had committed suicide. And if anybody's ever been involved in suicide, it's a really nasty experience, particularly for the survivors, more so for the survivors. So I felt, kind of, in a way I felt guilty because I didn't somehow help this person out more, didn't see the signs, soon enough or whatever. And so what did I do? I decided, well, I'm going to apply my shaman skills and I'm going to help these people. And if I save one person, it's going to be a good thing. So I started going to the meetings, I started reading the books, I started educating myself about suicide and all this stuff, and I was going to put my shingle out there and advertise and such. And then one day I realized, I thought, oh my gosh, this is just draining me. Every page I read, everything I do, I come out of it and I'm like, I am so tired. I feel like I'm walking in quicksand when I'm doing this. It's like, something's wrong here. So as I really did further analysis of it, I was really feeling guilty. I was feeling guilty because I didn't help my friend out. So this was my way to hide my guilt. Some people might drink, some people might eat, some people watch TV. This is what I was doing. I was going to be the savior to hide my own guilt. So it's perfectly okay. The point is, it's perfectly okay to help people, and it's a good thing to help people because it strengthens us and unites us. But we need to look at why we're helping people. Are you being the savior? Do you have to help that person, or do you choose to help that person? Right? That's the difference. So if you find yourself playing any one of these roles, stop and take a step back and go, I'm on the triangle of disempowerment. I'm being the victim, or I'm being the bully, or you could be all of them. You can go around and do all of them, in one conversation. You ever notice how if you have a fight with your significant other, how it kind of goes around, you go from victim to bully to savior, and you're both playing all the roles as you're arguing. So one important aspect of this work, though, is that there's no right or wrong or good or bad. All right? The one thing that really feeds the victim, the bully, and the savior is guilt. So if it's guilt and it's telling you that you deserve poverty in whatever aspect you have. So if there's poverty in your life in any way, there's probably guilt somewhere underneath that's not allowing spirit to flow into your life. So, like I was saying, my father taught me I had to work 80 hours a week to just scrape by. So I actually remember one time I bought a new car, and it was like my first brand new car, and I was actually ashamed to show people it because I felt guilty because I had a new car. I didn't deserve that car. Actually, what are you doing with that car? We don't have a car like that. And it wasn't even that nice a car, it was just new, So, I was feeling guilty for allowing myself to have prosperity. So that's something to think about, that, you don't want to judge yourself here. You just want to step in, accept it for what it is, and let it go. Eckhart Tolle says that healing or awareness is 90% of healing, or 95% of the healing. So just to be aware you have a problem, and think about that. Think about people that maybe you look at them and go, that person's got a problem. But they're not even aware they have a problem, right? Once you're aware of it, that opens the door to let things happen, to be aware of what's going on in your life. And that's why this is such a great model, because you can look at this model and say, wow, am I playing one of these three roles? And if you are, then that opens the door to your awareness to say, okay, I've got to go in and do some more work here. There's something going on here that is not working for me. So next, let's talk about how we can change that. Now we have the triangle of empowerment. And then okay, so I'm in the triangle of empowerment. We have, instead of the victim, we have the hero. Instead of the savior, we have consultants. And instead of the bully, we have challenges. So just right off the bat, before you even start talking about it, you see how that changes the energy of a situation? If you go to that psychic person to say, oh my God, I haven't had a relationship in 10 years and I'm really lonely, then you're going for a savior. But if you say, okay, well, I understand there's something going on here. I want to go to maybe see a different perspective. Maybe someone to guide me to a different way that I can change, to help me to attract that love I need, or that money I need, or whatever it might be. So then instead of going looking for a savior, you're looking for a consultant. The hero doesn't really need the savior, but the hero realizes that they're not alone in this world, that they don't have to do everything on their own. So they seek out the consultant to give them advice, to give them a new way of viewing the things. They're not going to the consultant to save them. They're going to the consultant to say, did you ever think about this? I think probably some of you are life coaches, right? That's what a life coach would do. They say, yeah, did you ever think about this? Or did you ever think about that? Or a reading, or whatever. It does that. Like for myself, like when I go back and I talk about my money situation. So what did I do? I said, okay, there's something going on here. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on. So I just started studying. I started looking at millionaires. And I found that Andrew Carnegie, who was one of the richest men in the world, who lived around the turn of the century, steel tycoon, he only worked part days. He didn't even work a whole day. And here's the guy's got more money than everybody. He would take cruises. And in those days, you didn't have cell phones or even phones on the cruises. You might have a telegraph, maybe. And he'd go on a cruise for a month and a half and just leave the empire and didn't even worry about it. And now why can this person have millions of dollars and someone who works 80 hours a week be scraping by? So, so in studying the mindset of these people, and there's just a million different books and, Kevin Trudeau has a lot of stuff, and Napoleon Hill, and all these. There's just so much written about it. Dale Carnegie, So in doing that, I was able to change my perspective on money and change my view about money to say, wait a minute, do I want to have this work 80 hours a week mentality? And really what I think hit me the worst was when I was traveling to Germany a lot for work, and I was going to miss my daughter's birthday, and my little 6-year-old daughter like, oh, Daddy, don't go, And at that point I said, okay, I'm changing. This is not worth it. So now let's take a look at the victim. The victim feels that the bully is out to get them, right? But the hero's perception is grateful for the opportunities. So in other words, we all have our bullies in our life, right? So if you're a victim, the bully is acting on you and has power over you. If you're a hero, you look at that bully and you say, wow, this is an opportunity for me to become a stronger person. This is an opportunity for me to learn a different point of view. This is an opportunity for me. So to the hero, they see them as challenges, because the difference is the bully is always look right over your shoulder. If you ever had a bully in school, either to take your lunch money or push you down. So you always have to looking around for the bully. But the challenges are opportunities for you to improve yourself. So the difference is when you're looking at it one way, it's empowering you. And when you're looking at it another way, it's draining you. You see the difference between the triangle of disempowerment and the triangle of empowerment. So basically, these challenges are there. So when you come into them, look at them. When you see these challenges or these bullies in your life, whatever they may be, it could be anything. It could be, it could be a lightning storm that just blew a hole in your roof or something. Look at it as a challenge. What can I do that's different this time that can help me to become a better person and help me to become stronger and grow through this? So the next time you find yourself feeling stressed or experience lack in any way, go into meditation, step outside of your story, become the observer of your life, and ask yourself these questions. Am I the victim? Am I the bully? Or am I the savior in this scenario? Then look to the triangle of empowerment and ask yourself, how can I change to become the hero? How can I change to become the hero? Just the act of asking raises your consciousness to a new level of perception, which will give you the answer. And the answer will come. May not come right away, but with persistence it will come. So realizing and acting as the hero, this will bring you untold prosperity in your life. Because you are already the heroes. You're already there. You just haven't realized it yet. Thank you.